Perfect. All right. Welcome everybody to our ULCT board meeting. Today is Monday, the 20th of May, and it is 8:38 a.m. We're probably going to forego introductions just because of our form of the meeting to move things along. Hopefully everyone's here and knows everyone. If you want to, you can open up who's on the Zoom call and read everyone's names. It makes it super easy. So let's go ahead and do a review and approval of the minutes and also call for the conflict of interest disclosure. So I need a motion to approve the April 17th, 2024 board meeting minutes.
Carrie Malkovich, I so move.
All right.
Second, Dan Dugan.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, we'll call for a vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, the motion carries. Guess the best way to do this is just be sure to listen if anyone opposes. And then again, just a reminder, the ULCT conflict of interest form, the link's there if you should happen to need to use it. We'll now move on to item 3, which is our ULCT Boards of Commission reports and appointments, and I will turn the time over to Liam. Okay, we can't hear Liam.
Sorry, we're doing great over here. Okay, I'll be really fast. We've got 3 to fill here: the Utah Communications Authority Board, the Utah Land Use Institute, and then the Water Certification Commission. We are proposing the 3 individuals that are in the staff recommendations there. We have Alex Jensen, the Utah Communications Authority Board. Alex has great experience. He's been the city manager in Layton since 1992 and has served as president chairman of a number of different organizations and has a background that we believe would be great to assist us on the UCA. Meg Ryan, to the Utah Land Use Institute Board. She was asked by ULUI to serve there. When they reached out to us to get someone from staff, we partnered with them before on different webinars and their conferences and presented often there. So we feel very grateful that they asked someone to serve there. And then Stacy Olson, who is the Assistant Public Works Director to the Water Operator Certification Commission. She has a great background in stormwater and really went through the ranks of the Public Works Department in Riverton. And thank you to Councilmember McKay for reaching out to her city there and finding someone to serve there. So that is our staff recommendation.
All right, do we have to take any action on this, Liam, or is it just more?
Yes, please. If the board could make a motion to appoint those individuals, that would be great.
All right, we're open for a motion.
I so move. Mary Winch.
Second, Dan Dugan.
Okay, perfect. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All right, seeing none and hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, the motion carries. Let's move on then. We'll now move on to, let's see, item number 4, the fiscal year 2025 tentative budget. And we'll turn the time over to our executive director and our chief operating officer. So take it away, guys.
Thank you, President Kaufusi, and thanks everybody for joining virtually today between a bunch of board members traveling today for a national conference and the Unified Economic Opportunity Commission here at the Capitol will be starting in a few minutes. This was the best way to accommodate everybody, so thank you for jumping on. And as mentioned in the email, we intend for this to be the shortest league board meeting ever because we are time limited to be done in order to meet the UEOC. So we'll be a short, sweet, to the point, but we also want to make sure there's enough time for you to deliberate on important things like this, the tentative budget. I'll turn it over to Nick in just a moment to talk through the ins and outs of the tentative budget and process. Today, we ask for your consideration of the tentative budget, and then your consideration of the final budget will come in the June board meeting. This budget addresses the threefold mission of the league: operations, membership engagement and advocacy. And I'll turn it over, Nick, to you now to talk through what we're looking at for revenues and expenditures. And then President Kaufusi will take any and all questions that the board members have. Nick, take it away.
Great, thank you, Cam. As you can see in the memo that was sent out Friday, we are proposing a fiscal year 2025 budget of $5,343,895. $3,695,000 of that is ongoing general revenue. If you remember from last year, we are going to be in our second year of the local administrative advisor grant and ongoing state appropriation, which accounts for $1.58 million. Overall, as we walk through this, you're going to see there are a reduction in grants, other grant programs that are kind of reaching the end of their life. So overall, the budget we have proposed for you is a decrease of 3.66% from the fiscal year 2024 adopted budget. In our general revenue, what we've referred to in the past as our core budget, so this is outside of the local administrative advisor and other grants, we're looking at a revenue increase of just over 1.5%. As you recall, in January, the board voted to reduce the rates applied to the property valuation and population portions of the dues, the membership dues formula. We kept the sales tax component even, which led to an increase in that amount and slight decreases to the others for an overall increase in membership dues of about 4%. And that was, we did all of that in January. That is about a third of our, 2/3 of our core budget revenue. Another portion of our budget revenue, a big portion of our core budget revenue is conference related revenue, which includes registrations, exhibitors, and sponsors. We are projecting to be a little up in exhibitors based on current year numbers. And we are thinking we're projecting to be down in registrations because of the decision that was made to go from a 2.5-day conference or annual to a 2-day conference. We're going to reduce registration fees accordingly. So that is why we do expect the same numbers. We had a record-breaking mid-year. We do expect to do well, but we're also going to charge less because there's less there. As a part of that, though, that other half day, and I think Molly will go into this a little later in the executive report, we are taking that other half day on the road across the state. So she will talk about the regional events where we're doing in each AOG so that there's still a chance for face-to-face interaction with our members. As I mentioned earlier on, the grant and special project revenue is a major decrease from there. That's not that we are losing grants that we should be getting. They're just kind of coming to the tail end of when they were supposed to, for their lifetime. The Land Use Academy of Utah website is being transferred over to the Office of the Property Rights Ombudsman. ARPA stuff that Liam's working on is at the very tail end. They have to spend all their money by the end of this year, and so halfway through next fiscal year. And the Your Land, Your Plan grant will also be wrapping up with just what's left over in the upcoming fiscal year. No change to the ongoing state appropriation. We've submitted our one mid-year report to them, and we'll be submitting another in June to the Governor's Office of Planning and Budget, and everything looks to stay the same there. You'll note that ULCT had hired Gary Watcott to run that program and oversee the local administrative advisor program. And when he passed away suddenly in January, we are still looking for his replacement. We hope to, by at least the beginning of next fiscal year, have the new program director over the local administrative advisor program. Overall to expenses, the personnel expenses, we're looking at an increase of about $150,000, just over 8% over the fiscal 2024 year budget. That includes market and merit increases for staff. There's also a decrease in what we're expecting to spend in contract labor, which shakes out to be just a little over 8%. Our operations and engagement expenses, we have a decrease of just under 2%. And that comes in, I think last year it was a decrease of 3%. I think the year before that it was about 14%. So that's just an expression of how we are constantly looking to streamline our operations and make sure we have our belts tightened there. Event expenses, we're looking at a decrease of about $90,000, about 20% less than this year. And that ties into what I was talking about before, that we're going to have a half day less at the annual convention, which will reduce our food and beverage costs, as well as our facility and special equipment rental costs. Again, with grants and special projects on the expense side, tied directly to the revenue side of that, and we're seeing these reach the end of their shelf life. You'll notice that we've added a line item, and that is what we are currently referring to as the Dignity Index / Disagree Better ULCT project. The board in April kind of did a straw poll, mentioned they were interested in pursuing this and having next year's budget reflect that. We budgeted currently $50,000 to get that program up and running. We'll be working, you'll work directly with her in June, Dr. Danya Ramore, as well as other partners to kind of have the league be front and center on this civility and disagreeing better type of initiative. As a part of that, we hope to have them brand it and come up with a better name than the Dignity Index / Disagree Better ULCT project. We want something that is catchy, but before trying to name it ourselves and plug it into the budget this year, we decided we'll leave that up to the pros. Happy to answer any questions on anything specifically in the budget. Ultimately, we are going to ask you, and I will look to Jared to correct me to make sure we're doing all of this properly as far as the motions that need to be taken. We will need you to adopt this tentative budget and also schedule a time for a hearing on the tentative budget before the adoption of the final budget at our June 10th meeting. Now, because we do not meet weekly like your councils, or every other week like your councils may, we are recommending that we do that hearing on the same day at the beginning of the meeting in which we will adopt the final budget. And I will also want to mention, because it is a legal aspect, by sending this budget to you and reviewing it here, we have filed the budget with the board of directors. And now we will look to review and adopt, and schedule the time and place of the public hearing for the final budget, or on the tentative budget and adoption.
Thanks, Nick. And then does that make it a public document? Will it be up on our website today?
Yes. Yep. It is currently so the tentative budget is currently on the public notice website along with this memo. So the memo and the budget is currently public.
Okay, great. Anything else, Nick?
No, happy to answer any questions about where we're going. This year's budget, slightly lower than last year, but with investments in the key areas that we see. And Cam and I have spent a lot of time going through the specifics, and we feel very good about where we're at going into fiscal year 2025.
All right. With that said, does anybody have any questions or concerns we need to talk about?
Madam President, I would just go ahead and move that we approve the tentative budget and schedule a hearing for our following meeting in June to hold the public hearing and approve the budget.
I'll
Okay.
second the motion.
Great. We have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Seeing none, let's go ahead and call it to a vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? Okay, great. The motion carries. Thanks for your work on that. We're all in budget season ourselves, and we all know how painful and hard it is. So thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, let's go ahead now and move on to item number 5, which is our ULCT procurement policy update to HB 125 from the 2024 session. And Nick will take this one as well. So this will also be an action item to review and approve for the procurement policy update. So, all right.
Thank you, Mayor. As I arrange my stuff here. So HB 125, this legislative session required interlocal entities, which we are, to be under state procurement unless we adopted a internal policy, which we did have one, that included a list of, I want to say 20-something specific items that your procurement policy has to include in order to be outside of state procurement. We have worked closely with Carrie Nakamura and Associates to review this. And Carrie is going to be helping us update our policies and procedures, which we're going to bring to you in August. This law went into effect on May 1st. So we definitely wanted to pull this piece out of the overall policy and procedure update and present it to you here so that we can be under our own policy and not the large and in-depth state procurement program. We're quite different than a lot of public entities. We focus on events and that type of procurement, not a lot of construction, that type of thing. So it was really important to us to make sure we were under a policy that reflected how we are unique and in the kind of entity that we are, rather than just the general state procurement code. So we think the changes that we have included in here accomplish that. We've also had it reviewed by Jared Tingy, our legal director, to make sure that each thing that we've adopted is in compliance with HB 125, because if you miss one, you're under state procurement. So we wanted to make sure that we have that there. All of so we have the red line document in here for you to look through and see the specifics, and we've broken down some of the kind of a summary of the changes here. We've made some changes to definitions that try to mirror the language of HB 125. It was called our purchasing policy before, now we call it our procurement policy. The chief operating officer within this was the purchasing agent. The code references a procurement officer. We made those changes there. And we've, little technical fixes, like we're back and forth between being the league or ULCT, and we changed it to ULCT throughout. We've also added a protest officer in order to comply with HB 125. We clarified some of our current practices that were not within the policy. For example, if anyone wants to buy anything in the office, they either need to get approval from CAM or I. And that was kind of an unwritten policy. So we decided to plug that in to make sure that people know that, there are these limits for small and minimal purchases, but anything we buy has to be approved by the executive director or the chief operating officer / procurement officer. And then throughout, you will see there are areas where it said, and has to be approved, and has to be approved. Those were eliminated because we have one that covers the every type of purchase. Trying to see, it's a little far away. Language to remove, resolve ambiguity. Very specific things from the law. Disallowing the splitting of procurement into invoices in smaller pieces to avoid the limit thresholds. Pretty basic stuff of stuff you want in your procurement policy, and we just have it now spelled out. We've also included in our formal purchasing, which previously only had an invitation for bids process, which is the purely objective, you go with the lowest bidder process. We've included a request for proposal process that now gives us the ability to have objective and subjective criteria. Those limits for a formal procurement for most of what we do is over $100,000. Very limited in the times that we're actually spending that amount of money. We've also added some of the things that they required, stating that it's unlawful to bribe me or CAM, or for us to accept bribes. Pretty common sense stuff that we just need to have written down and official. I have Carrie and Frank Nakamura of Carrie Nakamura and Associates on the call as well. And if there's anything you'd like to add or any questions anyone has on the specifics here, we are open to it.
Thanks, Nick. It's been a pleasure to work with you on this project. And as Nick said, the League is a unique organization, and their policies previously were really modeled after municipal policies, which didn't really seem to be a good model for what the League needs to get its work done as an interlocal entity. And so you know, I think that's helping move it, and we'll move more forward in this more comprehensive review. For those of you who know Frank, it will make you giggle that he's my associate on this project. But I did need that legal mind. I needed somebody who understood procurement law, and with his municipal attorney background, that was really helpful. So Frank, I don't know if you want to speak to the compliance with HB 125 requirements.
Well, we did go and do a checklist, went through every item that was in the bill. Yeah, the league does need to be outside of that state procurement process because it's unique. Unique even from municipalities and types of services it needs. At the same time, we want to be consistent with the intent of procurement policies, which is the transparency and the competitive process where necessary, but also to be very efficient. So to Nick's credit, he gave us a view of how the league operates and where their focus is. So we were able to develop a policy that is specific to the league. And so I think that's what we've accomplished. We do anticipate making and refining the policies as we do policies overall, and so that they all mesh together. We anticipate some refinement when we do the complete overview of the policies.
Great, and so any questions from board members for myself or Carrie and Frank?
Carrie Malkovich, I have a question. I just wanted to make sure I understood. We don't necessarily need to go with the lowest bid now. We can go with that, the award of the contract as based on that independent scoring, which may or may not include, I mean, it does include the financial aspect, but that is separate from the initial scoring, so that we get scope of project is actually in the bid as a more weighted decision-making point rather than just cost.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes,
Okay.
so depending on the type of project and the limits, the thresholds, we would go for an invitation for bids, which is very objective, have to take the lowest bidder, really good for buying widgets and construction projects, or we can go RFP. And then we also have, if you look through, we have a minimal purchase, small purchase, and formal purchase, certain exemptions to the procurement code as well. But if we're talking about a big formal purchase, yeah, what we would do is include the weighting of what a statement of needs, everything we need, what the weighting is. An independent evaluation committee that I would not be able to sit on would score everything but the price. I would have access to the price. They would have their independent scores. They would then send them over to me when it closes, and I would plug in the price. Highest score, with price being a component of that, would then be awarded the contract.
All right, I like that process much better.
And I might add on that, that was a requirement of HB 125 that we detail that subjective process.
Now, the law required also to have this committee that we are using.
So when we go through this process, staff will be overjoyed for me to have them filling out a committee because normally that was something I would sit on and handle. But Frank and Carrie are experts on this, and having me removed from that and then only plugging in the price is a good practice. So we're gonna go that way.
Do we need a motion to accept this?
We would, yes.
I'll make a motion to accept it then.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on the table. Any discussion from any other board members? All right, seeing none, let's call it to a vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 And any opposed? Great, thank you. The motion carries. Thank you for your work on this. We appreciate it.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Who was the second on that motion? I'm sorry.
Dan Dugan.
Great, thank you.
Dan's been seconding them all, I think, this morning. Well, we said, so thanks, Dan. Moving us along. It's good. All right, let's go ahead and move on to item number 6, which is our Executive Director Report from Cam. We'll turn the time to you.
Perfect. Thank you, President. And thank you to the operations team led by Nick for the great work on the budget and the procurement policy. And I'm glad we're now in compliance with House Bill 125 and ready to rock and roll there. What we want to accomplish here is it's actually not just me. I'll be joined by Molly and Cassidy here to give you some quick updates as part of the Executive Director Report. And then we'll do a few quick advocacy updates, and then you'll go into closed session. But we're doing great on time, so thanks everyone. The first thing of note within the Executive Director Report is that we are almost done with our spring training and spring outreach. We'll have a report for you later this summer of just the number of league members and cities and towns that we've been in contact with this spring between all of the conferences and webinars and regional meetings. But we feel great about the amount of membership outreach this spring to provide information on what happened during the legislative session, to listen to needs, and to provide training. So with that as the context, Molly, I'll turn it over to you to give a quick update on where we are with the regional meetings.
Thanks, Cam. So as Nick mentioned at the top, we're shortening our annual convention by a half day, and we're going to take that on the road. And to start for that, we are collaborating with 5 of the AOGs, pretty much all of them except for MAG and WFRC to start, to work on these regional events. The first of which is today, this evening, down in Price for Southeastern Utah. Then tomorrow we'll head to Richfield and join their regional event that R6 has been doing for a few years. They do a really nice job on that. Then on Wednesday, we'll head over to Cedar City and then take a break for a minute. That's a lot. Then June 5th, we're going to head up to Brigham City for Bragg's regional event. And then June 27th, we'll be heading over to Uinta Basin for their kind of annual picnic and event over there. Some key stats I just wanted to let you know that we're pretty excited about. We have 66 folks registered for our event in Southeastern, 260 for the 6-county event. They've been doing that for a few years and have really built it up into something lovely. So hopefully we can get the others there in the future as well. 90 attending in 5-county, and we have 29 registered right now in Bragg. We're hoping to get that up. Mayor Peterson, if you could possibly help us with promoting that amongst your peers up there, we would really appreciate that. But one thing I'm really excited about with this is part of what we had kind of suspected was that there are a lot of cities and towns that don't necessarily have it in their budget to be coming to mid-year and coming to annual. And so earlier this year, Angela did some great analysis looking at what cities and towns haven't been at mid-year or annual in the last 2 years. And there are 101 cities or towns that fall into that category. And just between 4 of these events, so the Southeastern, R6, 5-county, and Bragg, of the 101 cities that haven't done anything with us in the last 2 years, 39 are going to be attending one of these events, which is really exciting. And then Meg, Liam, and I have also kind of plugged in a bit of a wonky road trip between all of these events so we can stop in and visit some others as well. So really trying to make sure that we are connecting with all of our members, even if they aren't, the kind of standard members that we see similar to you that are attending LPC and our spring trainings and mid-year and annual and things like that. So we're really excited for this.
Thank you, Molly, and thank you for the tremendous amount of work. This is the first time we've ever done any of these types of regional events partnering with the AOGs. The AOG leadership is very excited as well. And so there are joint efforts between the league and the AOGs, and we're thrilled at the turnout thus far. And it'll be a busy week. Basically, as soon as LPC is over, I'll be on the road. Molly and team will leave earlier And then we'll be mingling with as many members as possible over the next few days on top of our normal programming of mid-year and all the other conferences and webinars that we do. So any questions for Molly and the engagement team? Councilmember Malkovich?
Yes, I was just wondering, do we have any specific reasoning why the 101 cities, I mean, that's almost half of our cities that don't attend something or haven't attended something in the last 2 years. Is it just a financial aspect, or is there another reason? Just wondering if we might consider for some of those that if it is financial, that they might have an online option or something so that they can still be engaged in a small way if that's the case.
That's a great question. We don't exactly know why. I think a lot of it has to do with travel expenses, things like that, as you know, and as we've kind of created with this LAA program as well. When you look at the list, they are pretty much exclusively our towns, and then some of our 5th class cities. So it's the little guys out there that I think just kind of struggle with resources to make everything happen. So it's a great question, and this is our first attempt to try to kind of connect with them a little bit more in a substantive way, and we'll see how it all unfolds.
Councilmember, the other thing I'll add is some of these communities do engage with us through the webinars, and they're in touch with us with email questions. So we have regular communication with a lot of them. They're just not attending annual or mid-year.
Okay.
So for example, some of those communities don't attend annual and mid-year, but we track every call that goes to Todd Godfrey, who does our legal Q&A service. And some of those communities are connecting with Todd on a regular basis, or some of them on the list I've talked to about X, Y, and Z issue. So it's not that they're not connecting with the league per se, it's that they're not coming to annual and mid-year. And we've thought the biggest challenge to that was just travel and logistics. We've heard that from some board members as well, that it's, that sometimes a city will say we can only afford to send 2 people, we can't afford to send everybody, but if we can send Richfield, then the whole council can come. So
I'm a 5th class city, and I'm usually the only one who can go to annual, and everybody can maybe go to mid-year, but that's exactly why. So I was just kind of wondering if that was the same thing.
So another interesting fact was when we were getting ready to do our big convention down in St. George, I think I had 4, possibly 5, I'm trying to find on my computer, mayors from the small towns reach out and say they wish they could come. And I mean, their reasons are so interesting. It's with my farm, I'm in the middle of this, or with my towing business, I'm in the middle of this. And so I think they're staying in tune and in touch with what we're doing. They just couldn't take the time off. And I totally respect that. So I love that we're doing this road trip idea.
Hi, this is Dawn. I can't electronically raise my hand because I'm in the car, but if I can just pipe in too and just say, I love this. I really love this. I think it is going to prove to be really valuable to our membership. And I know it's an immense amount of work. It's a lot of extra work. It's a lot of extra time, but I think taking the league to our members is going to go a long way. So I just want to second what's been said and thank all of you for these efforts.
Thanks, Dawn. We have Seth with his hand raised.
Thank you, Mayor. Just adding to what Dawn said, that not everybody can use the league like I do or like you do as members of the board with the time commitments that they have. So I think this is, as has been described, is a great way to reach out to them where they are, literally, and give them opportunities to improve how they represent their residents through the education that we can give them. I think this is great, and I look forward to what we learn from these experiences and what tweaks if we need to make it even better, because I think this will have a great impact on improving our cities and towns across the state.
Well, thank you everyone for the feedback. We'll report back future board meetings how they go. We're excited in this first foray. We're going to be connecting with folks who otherwise don't have the resources, the bandwidth to come to our traditional events and engage, as Seth put in, the way that a lot of other cities can. So Molly, while we've got you, let's give a quick update about June, make sure everybody's aware of what is expected of them for the June board meeting.
Sure, thanks, Cam. So we've also been working, as Nick was saying, on the kind of ineloquent dignity index, disagree better, league, civility fusion project. So we are hoping to get a good brand for that, but we're partnering with Danya Ramori, who's a professor up at the U. She came to mid-year and looked at some of our programming there. She is going to come on June 10th and do a 90-minute in-person only kind of conflict resolution crash course with the board. So we're looking at that. And then from there, she's going to continue on to do a needs assessment so that we can hopefully have some great curriculum to launch for our members at annual and have a bit of a pilot program moving forward this next year for how we can kind of embody those principles of conflict resolution, dignity, disagree better, within our practice and within our local government. So again, she'll be coming June 10th. It is an in-person only training. I know that there will be kind of some other components of the board meeting with the budget review, budget approval, things like that. So that's what we're looking at with her. And we're just really excited to be working with her. She's kind of like at the forefront in the field for this and also in Utah. So we're pretty lucky.
Since it's in person only, where will we be meeting? I don't think our little conference room
So we'll be
holds
meeting. That's a
everyone.
great question. Thank you. We'll be meeting at the league office.
Perfect. Any other questions for Molly about the June board meeting? So I'll just put a big exclamation point on what Molly was just saying. Today's board meeting is short, in part because of the scheduling, but also in part because we're going to ask more time in June. So be shorter in May, longer in June. We'll provide lunch to offset that a little bit, and then please RSVP so we know who's coming, so that Dr. Amore can have her prep work done and knows who's going to be there. So when we send the follow-up board meeting email later this week, please just RSVP so we know who's going to be able to join us in person on June 10th. Molly, anything else you want to reference about that effort? Okay. In that case, Cassidy, let's talk about board op-eds. As a reminder for board members, a few months ago, prior to the session, we had told you that we were working on a partnership with Utah Policy, and we were trying to get board op-eds up and running. Then there were some health issues with the folks in charge at Utah Policy, and anyway, things have been put on hold for a little bit, but Cassidy has an update for you and will be soliciting your participation. So Cassidy.
Thank you, Cam. So this summer into the fall, we will be doing op-eds on a variety of different topics. And I know you all are busy and may not have the time to write your op-ed, so I'll ghostwrite it for you and you get to edit and add your own voice to it, which is always easier than trying to sit down and write something from scratch. And what we'll be doing is we'll be focusing on ideas and events and national celebration days that also have things to do with cities. So for example, on November 20th is GIS Day, and that would be a great opportunity to do an op-ed on how cities are using GIS to provide more efficient services, whether it be through snow plowing, planning, and things like that. October 15th is another example. We have International Day of Rural Women. There's some lovely women on our board that I think could write a great op-ed on how Utah rural women are making differences in their communities. We have, in June, I was thinking about watering city parks. I feel like every year you also have lots of concerned residents who are calling in and saying, hey, the water at the park is on. So kind of describing when's a good time to call your city if you see water flowing in a park versus it's okay, they're probably working on maintenance. We're hoping to do one around the Olympic bid, which will probably be Mayor Kaufusi since they have a venue. Suicide Prevention Day will be something about crisis intervention teams for cities that have that. We have International Youth Day with Youth Council. National Voter Registration Day will be something about how, if partisanship has got you down, don't worry, local elections are for you. So I'll be making some assignments this week. You're more than welcome to say, hey, you know what, politically, I don't feel comfortable doing this assignment, or I think this assignment would work better for my city. But we're going to start out with kind of, here's the list of choices, here's what cities I think would fit best for this, give me your feedback. So that's kind of where I'm at with these. A lot of them are topics that I think I would call politically safe, or just kind of showing, hey, this is what cities are doing for you. And I'll send you the list this week. Do I have any questions?
Not hearing any questions. The exclamation point I'll add here is this is based on the feedback we heard from you as board members about telling the story of what cities are doing year round. And so thank you, Cassie, for building out a potential calendar. And so we'll send that in the follow-up email as well with some requested assignments. And then, as Cassie said, we're flexible if you prefer to do a different topic or something else. But then we're just trying to get the general message of cities out in a more regular basis so that people get accustomed to hearing more regularly from their city leaders. We know, Mayor Kaufusi, you've been successful with this in Utah County. There's the regular mayor's moment in the Daily Herald. And so we're trying to build on that type of approach. Okay. Next thing within the report will be a quick discussion here about August and September. So since we met in April in St. George, which doesn't seem that long ago, but was actually a month ago now, the legislature has finalized their calendar for the interim. So the UEOC calendar is now out with the first UEOC meeting in 40 minutes. The legislative interim calendars are now out. And because of that, in August, we had initially planned on LPC and the board both being on August 12th, but because of those legislative calendars, we're actually proposing changing LPC to be on the 19th. So you'd have a standalone meeting on the 12th and LPC on the 19th. Our thought here also, Mayor Kaufusi, was because we've tried to hold a board meeting in a presidential city, and it would be hard to do a board meeting in Provo with LPC on the same day because it's a long commute to get to the trust. So our thought was to separate the two of them in August, both still being hybrid meetings. Then we could host the board meeting in Provo instead of at the league office. So Mayor Kaufusi, we haven't actually talked to Kay yet to confirm whether or not there's availability on August 12th. So I acknowledge that, but anyway, we can follow up on the logistics with Mayor Kaufusi's team about August 12th, but wanted to let you know that our plan is to move LPC off of that day. So we'd still proceed with the board meeting on August 12th as scheduled, but we would just move LPC to the 19th to better align with the legislative calendar. Any thoughts one way or the other on that? Okay. So Mayor, we'll follow up with you to see if we can make Provo work for that meeting.
And I just checked on my calendar and we can absolutely make Provo work for that.
Okay. In that case, Provo it is. We'll do the board meeting in Provo, hybrid meeting on August 12th. Then on August 19th will be LPC. Then in September, traditionally for the annual convention, we hold the board meeting on the evening of the first day of the conference. This year, we have the opportunity that first night of the conference. We haven't publicized this yet. We're still working out the final details, but have the opportunity to do a night at the ballpark with the Salt Lake Bees and Salt Lake City and Larry H. Miller Company doing like a family night at the Bees game. But if we did that, that would cut into the time we'd normally have the board meeting. So our proposal would be, instead of doing the board meeting on that Wednesday night, where we'd be conflicting with that family activity, we would move the board meeting to the Tuesday. Now, what complicates it is Tuesday is the first day after Labor Day, and a third of you have board meeting or have council meetings scheduled for that Tuesday night. So our recommendation is to move the board meeting earlier on that Tuesday. Again, it would be a hybrid meeting so that be accommodating for people who wouldn't be able to attend in person, to either do it on that Tuesday morning or the Tuesday lunch hour. Any first blush thoughts there? Any concerns?
What about nominations? Hey, everybody. What about the nominations committee that might be doing interviews? Because there could be some board members that end up serving on the nominations committee or are being interviewed.
Excellent point by Kate, who will be the chair of the nominations committee. So I'm glad you have that front of mind. Yeah, we're working through those logistics as well. because per the Constitution, that all has to wrap up by noon on the first day of the conference. So the thought is when we find the nominations committee announcements will go out next week in Friday Facts, not this week, but next week. And then we'll build out that calendar. So maybe Kate, we tell people, maybe the decision we just make right now is that board meeting will be that Tuesday, but then we won't finalize the time until we coordinate with nominations committee. Mayor Kaufusi, does that work for you?
Yes.
Just
Cam, I did get your poll up and running. If you'd like me to launch it, it does include.
yeah,
the
let's just
Wednesday
quickly
option.
launch it. Yep, this would be helpful. So Nick, just open the poll to see who had preference between the Tuesday morning versus Tuesday lunch. That'll be helpful as we build out this calendar. Yeah, and then Nick also added the bees thing that if we could make.
Host and panelists cannot vote.
It's on mine.
Well, that's what we get when we try and make it on the fly. So
Yeah,
let us know your preference. Because apparently.
we'll put that in. We'll put it in the follow-up board email.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we'll make
in
a
the follow-up
nice
board email.
Qualtrics survey that we're used to in that board email. So look out for that.
Yeah, but just know
I'm good with Slido. Just give me a Slido.
that's right. Our plan is to move it to the Tuesday so that you can attend the bees game with your families. But we're just trying to work out the logistics there. But we felt like the bees game was a good opportunity. We didn't want to pass up that opportunity for the conference. Speaking of nominations, Nick, can you just go to that page in the document? Some of you have your board term that will be up in September. So if you're highlighted in blue, then your term expires in September. We do not have term limits, so you can run for a second or in some cases a third term, but be aware that your term will be expiring. So watch for the end of May, the application materials so you can file again. And then if you're not going to run again or you're currently on the board and you're not up this year, Kate would welcome your participation in the nominations committee. We'll have more information in Friday Facts next week about both of these things, but just wanted to make sure everyone was aware of where you stood in the timing. Finally, the last 2 summers, we've held summer meetings of the Large City Caucus. We do plan to do that again. So those of you who represent large cities, we've done those meetings with the mayors plus a guest. And then the Resort Community Caucus wants to start meeting regularly. And so we're working with actually Springdale Town to coordinate those meetings. So excited about that opportunity. Any questions on the executive director report? We will not ask to confirm the modified board meeting time because we'll do that in the follow-up board email, but we'll basically what Nick just put on the screen is what we'll send out. Any questions for us? Okay, in that case, I'll turn it over to Justin, Mayor Kaufusi, if that's all right, to explain what we're going to do at LPC today. Then we also ask for your approval of the creation of the advisory groups and to reaffirm the principles for advocacy within the CHA that we went over at the board meeting in April and said we would take a vote this month. And then Justin will give a quick update on the special session as well. Take it away, Justin.
All right. No, you can hear me. We're having technical difficulty in the room. It's exciting here. But we're going to run through really quick. We were ahead of schedule. Now we're back onto our normal, a couple minutes behind schedule. This is perfect. So we are looking to create some advisory groups for the summer. Now, oftentimes we've called those work groups. We've called them, different things. But we've landed on the word advisory because what we're really looking for is the feedback from our members on various and sundry different items. And then we get a smaller negotiating group that actually goes and negotiates what the bill looks like, negotiates what that policy looks like. So we don't want to overstate what a work group does. And so that's why we're calling them advisory group this year. But in essence, these are our work groups for the summer. Now, we're not having an LPC in June. We're not going to have another LPC until August. So what this also does is allows us the time over the next couple of months to work with these advisory groups to get feedback as we start negotiating on these topics. So to run through what we've got, number 1, Commission on Housing Affordability, the CHA group. This will work on a lot of things that we get out of the ULCT and out of the CHA, give us advice and direction on these. Number 2 sounds a little bit amorphous, and it is purposely that way. We're calling this Economic Development and Financing Advisory Group. This group is going to help us figure out what we're doing on various things like TUF, don't get too excited about this, potentially retail incentives, and some other things, but sort of a catch-all in this economic development area. Third, we're looking at grandma privacy. HB 491 was a big deal. There's some other rumblings, to steal our term from last session, on the Hill about things that may happen with grandma. So looking for a group to give us advice on that one. We knew this one is coming, the gravel group, HB 502 and SB 172 from last year. One is doing a study already, another one we've got work to do, so looking for help from gravel. Stormwater, we also knew this one was coming from last session, looking for people to help us on that one. And finally, UDOT coordination. This one is a little bit different. We don't have a specific policy objective like we may with some of these other groups. This one is maybe more of a delegation than an advisory group, but we're looking to strengthen some ties with UDOT, give them some feedback, see if we can create just strengthen the working relationship we have with them on that one. So not a specific policy group per se, but looking to, like I said, kind of have a delegation that works with them. So that's what we're looking at. That's what we're creating today, what we're going to ask for in LPC. So we are looking for a motion to approve those groups. But before we get to that, I think I'll just do the quick update on the special session, and then we can come back to the action that we need. So special session is likely going to happen in June. The biggest driver for the special session is the IPP bill. They said that there's going to be changes to it. The governor in his press conference last week said that we know there are things that need to happen. That being said, and I'm looking over at Kate because she's in this all the time. That being said, nobody is quite sure what the changes look like or what's going to happen. The governor, his staff, and others have said it's not likely that we're going to see a lot of other items on the agenda for the special session, perhaps some technical cleanup. But at this point, we are expecting to see some kind of special session in June dealing with IPP, and we'll give you more information as we get there. We'll have the board meeting in June, but that's what we're expecting there. So with that, looking for action on those advisory groups, and I'm happy to take any questions as well if anyone has any.
And the principles, the CHOP principles.
And yeah, that's right. And also updating or reaffirming the CHOP principles that we worked on last meeting. I don't know if you want.
I'll make a motion to approve the advisory.
Second. Dan Dugan.
I muted myself because I thought that might help with the static in the room up there. We have a motion from Kate and a second from Dan. So is there any further discussion on these committees? All right, seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 And any opposed? And can I just take a second and just add, there's a lot of rumblings, since that's our fun new term we're using here with the UTF that went through. There's a group gearing up to shoot that down, or at least carve themselves out. And I feel like it's significant enough to all of us that we at least ought to start having the conversation. I don't want to be caught, off, not prepared. We need to address it because they're getting ready. They're working on it.
Yeah, Mayor, can I jump in here?
Please.
I met with Representative Karen Peterson on Friday to get an update on her end. And so we're going to go into more detail about this at LPC, but we had a work group last year that was working on the transportation utility fee. And so we plan to follow up with that group. And you're right, there is a group organizing to just take a shot at basically preempting city's ability to do the fees. So I'm not just eroding the court case, but completely throwing the court case out the window. And the good news is we have 71 yay votes in the House of Representatives for House Bill 367 from last session, who are on the record saying that they supported the transportation utility fee under those circumstances. So anyway, a good, because of time, I won't go into those full details, but I'm glad you brought that up because I was planning to reach out to you and Isaac today to give you an update on my conversation with her on Friday. But yeah, that issue is alive and well, and will likely be part of that economic development / financing group. Plus we have the group of people who were involved heavily last year. So things never end.
Thank you. All right.
The other thing, Mayor, before we go to the closed session, Nick, will you just go on the CHA UEOC questions principles? These were in the packet. The board approved these. Oh, no, go down. Perfect. These, the board approved A, B, C, and D last year. And so we're just asking you to reapprove them because they were very valuable as the foundational principles for our advocacy within the CHA and the UEOC. Then we'll be representing them at LPC today. And then below this, Nick, if you go down a little further, in green is what we presented to you last month. And so we, word for word, as we presented to you last month about our overall objectives tied to the budget. So Nick, that's fine. It's just the stuff that's highlighted in green, and then A, B, C, and D for the CHA. So we just request a motion there.
All right. Would anyone like to make a motion?
I make a motion, this is Scott Phillips, that we approve these objectives as outlined at the last board meeting.
I'll second
Carrie
that.
Malkovich, second. Oh,
Did we get that? Nick, are we okay on those? Okay, Cam gave the thumbs up. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on this? Oh, we have a hand raised. Oh, no, now it's down. Seeing no further discussion, we'll go ahead and call it to a vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, the motion carries. Thank you.
Perfect. Well, thank you everyone for all of your feedback on operations, engagement, and advocacy. And now we'll turn it over, Mayor, back to you and to Roger too for the closed session. We're going to step out.
Always.
Oh, okay.
You said we need to make a motion to move into a closed session. So would someone be willing to make that?
So
motion?
moved, Mayor Walker.
I lost your sound.
Okay, thanks.
Second, Carrie Malkovich.
Perfect. We have a motion by Mayor and a second by Carrie Malkovich. Everyone in favor say aye.
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 Point of order,
Mayor?
Mayor. I think we may need a roll call vote for that.
That's
Yeah,
probably,
I did make sure, who's here, so we need to take a roll call, who's here?
okay,
Nick,
so
Can you do that?
Hang on just a sec. It looks like Mayor Tran has joined and we need to promote her to panelist. Okay, a little bit of the logistics here. I'm going to include a link in the chat, and that is to a new Zoom meeting that Jared Tingy will be hosting. And all board members, no staff, except for Roger, Jared, and myself will be in that meeting. So I'm going to share this link in the chat, and you should be able to move over to that meeting. We will need to join back to this meeting via your panelist link to adjourn. And Roger, Jared, correct me if I'm wrong on any of this.
No, you're right. Where's the link?
Yep, the link, it's coming right here. Here's the link to that meeting. But we do need to do a roll call vote, correct?
Once we get there.
Well, don't we need to do it
Roll
to
call
enter?
now. We need to do the roll call now to go on to the.
Yes.
To the closed
So
session.
I will just look at my list of board members here. I'll look at my list on the right of board members in whatever order Zoom has given it to me, and just go ahead and give me your vote after I've said your name. It looks like we have a question for Mayor Ramsey.
Can we also please state the reason for a closed session on the public record before we go into the meetings?
Absolutely. This will be Roger. I don't have the portion of the code, but this is to discuss potential.
It deals with personnel and potential litigation.
Let me reformulate my motion. I move that we go into a closed session to discuss potential litigation and personnel issues. Mayor Walker.
I continue with my second.
Great. And I will walk through the roll call here. Councilmember Malkovich.
Yes.
Mayor Walker.
Yes.
Councilmember Dugan.
Yes.
Oh, everything's moving around now. Councilmember Winch.
Yes.
Mayor Kaufusi.
yes.
Councilmember Phillips,
Aye.
Councilmember Egbert,
Yes.
City Manager Seth Parents,
Yes.
Councilmember McKay.
I just want to clarify, this is to go into a closed session?
Yes.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, everyone moves as soon as they talk in my list. So Mayor Silvestrini,
Yes.
Councilmember Bradshaw,
Yes.
Mayor Peterson.
Yes.
Did I get Councilmember Winch?
Yes, you did.
Yes. Okay, great. Let's move. Have I failed to mention any voting member's name?
Tammy Tran, yes.
Mayor Shepherd.
Mayor Shepherd, Mayor Tran, so Mayor Shepherd,
Yes.
Mayor Tran.
Randall, yes.
Mayor Peterson,
You missed Mayor.
Yes.
And Mayor Randall.
Yes.
Okay. We will now enter a closed session. Go ahead and click that link. I'm going to run up to Jared's office and we will see you there. Staff can stay in this meeting. This recording will continue as required by law, and we will go from there. Thank you.
Staffing. By me, if you're, I don't want to make an issue. So if I'm in, we'll need to make sure they're all.
Oh, okay.
So please, I think it'll be fine. There's a question back from the,
Sure.
I just sent it to you again in the chat, Councilmember McKay.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome. Okay, let's count through who we got. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Thanks.
Whenever we're ready, I will move that we adjourn.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay, motion carries. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
Have a great Monday.
Thank you, Mayor.